My name is John Fulcher. I'm the fencing coach at Bishop McGuinness, and this is Linda Marsh, my assistant coach, also my wife.
Can you tell us about the beginning of fencing at Bishop?
John, I'll let you take that one.
Okay. That would have to go back 20 years, almost 20 years. The idea of a high school fencing league had been kicked around for many, many years, and one of the major drawbacks to that was having money to actually make it work. In 2000, the club at Glenwood, at Delta H Fencing Club, was approached to be the local organizing committee for a North American Cup event by the United States Fencing Association. This was going to be a 3-day event to be held in the exhibition center at the Greensboro Coliseum. They were expecting 1,200 fencers over the course of 3 days, and the local organizing committee was expected to do all the legwork, and in return they could sell concessions and souvenirs and do whatever they could to raise money. So a group of us agreed to do that, and I can't remember how much we made specifically.
Close to 10 grand.
Yeah, with the help from all the club members at that time, as well as their friends and family, and the sports marketing department at then Nations Bank. But we were able to raise quite a bit of money, and we decided to use that to actually start a high school league. The first Bishop was one of the first teams. There were 5 originally. There was the club team at Delta H. There was a team at Moorhead, Southwest, Bishop.
That was it.
I think that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As Harvey Webb from Moorhead likes to say, the first meet, we were able to feed all the fencers, all the officials, and all the coaches with 1 crock pot of chili. We can't do that anymore.
No.
So we started that, and those 4 teams went on for about 2 years, and then Elkin joined, and Chapel Hill High joined. And from there, I can't remember the exact dates. From there, and then it was East Chapel Hill, and then actually Greg Spar from the clubs in Wilmington was the big force in the East, pushing them to grow. And shortly after that, let's see, it was Salem Academy joined, Reynolds joined, and today there are at least 12 teams involved. Okay, 12 to 15 overall over the state. The first coach at Bishop was a parent, which is the way it works in most places, Russell Amundsen. He was one of the club members of Delta H who pushed for the NAC, and he was a big proponent of fencing. The fact that a couple of his kids went to Bishop didn't hurt, but he really was a driving force in that. I believe he coached for maybe 3 years, and then he got a job out of state, and the position became vacant, and Don Winters, who also had kids at Bishop and had some experience fencing, decided that he would coach at least for a couple of years. And he did, but once his kids graduated, he felt it was time for him to move on to other things. I had been an assistant coach for both those guys, because at that time I was also the commissioner of the fencing league. So it was best that I not really be tied to any one school. When Don left, I was sort of the only person left available. So I stepped in and became a coach. I'm fuzzy on dates, so I don't remember what date that was. Probably 7, 8, 9 years ago. After, I believe it was 2 years, maybe 3, the team got so big I couldn't handle it. And at that time, there were 21 people on the team, and the women outnumbered the men by 1, I think it was.
It was the largest team in the league.
That was the largest team in the league. It was nice to go when they had the annual meeting in the fall, And people would say, well, how many teams can you bring? Oh, I can bring an A and a B, or an A and two Bs, and I can bring an A and six Bs. And they all look at you like, what are you doing? But it was then that I decided to ask Linda to help me as an assistant because, again, with 21 teenagers, it was way too much to handle. Also, with a large number of women on the team, there were no other women coaches, and I thought they needed some sort of an example to encourage them. So
Therefore, I came in.
that's right. She and I have been running it ever since. And that's pretty much the history to date.
Very good, Logan.
How did the two of you start with fencing?
That was years ago.
It's a long time ago.
I actually had fencing first in college, and then after college, I discovered some fencing and decided I needed to know what to do. So I started trucking down to Chapel Hill and working with the fencing master, Ron Miller down there. John's best friend from college talked him into coming over to my club to take a class. And his friend decided it wasn't for him, but John stayed. So John and I became friends and fenced together a lot, fenced all three weapons, went to seminars, learned a lot, learned to coach. Both succeeded in taking the monitor to arms. No, that's our title. The testing, 3-day testing to be monitor to arms, which means we can effectively teach all three weapons. So Coach Webb and the two of us did that together. So we have been coaching and fencing now for more years than I'm going to say. And we continue to do it because it's fun. You guys fence because
It's fun.
it's fun. You enjoy it. It's exciting. It's always changing. It's never the same. We still enjoy that, but we also enjoy teaching those who want to learn. It's just a lot of fun to get people to grow and learn in the sport and have fun with it. So we're not going to tell you a date. Does that answer your question?
It does.
It does. Anything you want to add?
Let's put it this way, it's probably before your parents were born.
Yes, I like to tell people John came to class and never left, and here we are. So there you go.
It just sounds better. The audience hears something, and then the announcer says, "Oh, didn't go in," or "Wow," swoosh, the whole
How
thing.
does the North Carolina's Fencers League operate?
You know more than I. You can answer that.
Well, at times it doesn't, honestly. Trying to get an operating structure has been very difficult. Over the years, fencing coaches tend to be fairly strong personalities. Lots of them do not like being told what to do or like being led. At the same time, lots of them don't want to be leaders. So it has always been a problem. But when there were only a few coaches and a few teams, you could kind of reach an agreement, just for a gentleman's agreement. Now that there are 10, 12, 15 teams, it's becoming more structured. And there is a board of directors, and there's several coaches, parents, and others who are on the board. And they are trying to set up a structure much like the New Jersey high school fencing programs have, so that we can at least keep order and set dates and that sort of thing. Now it's divided into two sections, the East and the West, and they're sort of semi-autonomous in how they do things. They have to have the meets in the order that the entire state has them. But it's been sort of how you want to run them is up to you. And if you need to reschedule stuff, you can do that as long as everybody is ready for individuals and team championships at the end of the season. And that's kind of where it is now. Although, as I say, there is a move slowly, sort of geologic pace, to get it more organized and to actually implement a structure we need to do that because we've got too many people, too many things going on, and we may need to start keeping track of money or keeping money in order to fund things like new teams. At one time we were thinking about offering grants to new teams that needed equipment, scoring equipment. We always have referees and coaching development and all that sort of thing. And that requires organization and money. The biggest drawback to keeping the thing going is the lack of coaches. So if any of the current coaches were to quit in any team, it would fold because there's no one to take over.
That's why a developmental program for coaches is very important, and Randall is a great example of that, who has come in knowing pretty much nothing about fencing, and now has a middle school with like 18 children involved in it, and he hopes to move on to Page High School and start a team there. So he's a developmental coach, but we need a program, and that's what we've been talking about. We also need high schoolers who've been successful in the program to come back as an adult and continue helping the program.
And you may want to edit this out, but the other problem is that after, let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February, after 6 months of high school fencing, all of us are burned out and are not ready to start developmental coaching programs or do much of anything except go. I mean, you can kind of see it in the coach's eyes at team championships and individuals. It's this 1,000-yard stare. Oh, hey, how long are you going to fence after this? Never. So, it takes a lot, and it also takes a lot of parental involvement, and that's one thing that Bishop is great at. The parents at Bishop are wonderful. In fact, I have other coaches call me and say, "Hey, what do you do to get your parents so involved?" Stand back. No, it's on you.
They are known around the league. The Bishop parents are a force, and they're known throughout the league as the example setter.
So that's another big key to how all this works.
Also having the support of the school administration, which Bishop has supported fencing. A lot of coaches and teams have a lot of trouble in their schools because they're not supported by the administration. So Bishop's behind it. Administration, parents, students. It's a good thing.
And that's pretty much how it works, or it doesn't. All right, well, more inner workings. The schedule is set, and usually either in the late spring or the early fall. And it's usually set around some of the national meets, JOs, JO qualifiers, and local tournaments that may either take away coaches or officials or large numbers of fencers. Although at this point, we don't worry too much about that because everybody should have to worry about us. I mean, it's one of the largest youth programs.
It is the largest youth program in the state, and it's one of the largest on the Eastern Seaboard at this point. Because Maryland, New Jersey, New York, they have fencing. Pennsylvania too, I think.
Probably.
And Florida has some fencing, but there is nothing in between. So we have the largest number of youth fencing. So our program is able to introduce students like you guys to something different. And what's life if not exploring doing different things? So we just hope to add another avenue for young people to try something new. That's one reason we're here. So aren't you lucky?
That I'm very well paid.
Extremely well paid. But yeah, Bishop is a wonderful school to be with. Truly, truly is. And they didn't pay us to say that.
No.
A guy at the church that really helped.
Excellent.
Dr. Bardu.
Okay.
What would you like to see for the future of the Bishop fencing program?
More women.
More women involved, more fencers altogether. I'd like to see ultimately all 6 weapons, 3 women's teams and 3 men's teams. That would be great. The drawback to that is that there aren't that many schools that could field that kind of a team. We can't right now, but at one time we could have. I'd like to see the number of weapons grow. I mean, we have foil and epee. I would like to see either a women's epee team as well as a men's, or maybe a mixed saber team. What I'd really like to see for us and the league overall is to go to the NCAA format where you fence 3 weapons, or in our case, a men's foil, a women's foil, and a mixed epee, and they fence simultaneously, and the team that wins the most number of bouts overall first is declared the winner. That's where I would really like to see us go, but that's more of a league decision than a Bishop decision. At the local level, at Bishop, just more people involved would be good. To have a strong team and to be able to go and show other people what fencing is at Bishop. And when you walk in with, just 5, 10, 15 and counting as they walk through the door, and say, here, this is what fencing can be. If you only have 3 people on a team, then maybe you're not living up to your potential. I have 6 fencers. You can do more. And so I kind of see Bishop as an example for everybody else. But again, as far as the specific Bishop program, just more fencers, more people involved. That keeps even if they only try it for a year, it keeps the program going, it gets more people exposed to it, and it makes it more fun. There's not a lot of fun coaching 3 people.
That is true.
It's kind of boring. So, and coaching 20 people is kind of chaotic, but that's fun too. Anything else?
Well, I was just wondering why you guys fence.
I fence because it's a lot of fun, as you said before, and that it's something mentally stimulating.
What do you want to do with fencing?
I want to continue it throughout college, and hopefully maybe when I retire, maybe someday, to coach.
Oh, when you retire from
Work.
when you're 80? How about you, Jack?
I think, a lot what Carl said, but I think mostly it's like when you're like actually fencing, you're not like, it's just you and the other person. Like you don't have to like pass anything to anyone. Like it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
It's more individual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
A lot.
Very.
And then I'd also like to continue it through college.
Cool.
But not after college. Neither one.
I mean, if I can continue it after college, I'd like to.
Well, there are clubs all over the nation.
That's true. I'm taking it 4 years at a time.
Understood. Understood. I have fenced people in their late 70s, and we have a friend who, when he was 4 years ago, he was 60, and he went to nationals, and he lost to someone 30 years younger than him, and 30 years older than him. He lost to a 90-year-old. Yeah, it's a lifetime sport.
Yeah, 90-year-olds didn't take it up at 80.
No.
8 maybe, but not 80.
So it can be a lifetime sport, just like tennis, or not like bowling. Probably not.
And here's another perspective. When I started fencing, it was a different group of people, a different demographic. It was at least 50% adults.
It was 80 or
more.
90% adult.
And it was a different experience. You met a lot of interesting people. You were part of a group. I mean, you were a fencer. Whether you were a good fencer or a bad fencer, it really didn't matter. You were a fencer, and that's what people saw. other fencers saw. So, you go to a competition, fence all day, and win, lose, or draw, everybody packed up who were the survivors and went out to dinner to eat and drink adult beverages or what have you, and rehash all of the the experiences of the day, and look forward to getting together again in a couple of weeks or a month or whatever it would happen to be. And everybody knew everybody or knew of everybody, so it was a lot of camaraderie, and that was fun. That was an enjoyable experience, and it was also the fact that adults and kids mingled as equals. You competed as equals, you practiced as equals, and where else could you go as a 13, 14-year-old and play with adults and be able to relate to adults as equals?
That was a very strong point with the few young people we had, is that they were able to have conversations with adults who weren't parents, teachers, doctors, and that gave another level of interaction for them, another way to mature. That was pretty cool. It's like the kids that you were talking to at the tournament. Here you're having conversations with 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, but you're the same. So, and we got people from all walks of life. All walks of life. You could have the secretary, the construction worker, the dentist, the lawyer, everybody in all ages. We used to have every decade represented in the club, on up to the 70s. I guess Jerry Limber was the oldest.
Yeah. And it was part of that I wanted to see replicated in the high school league. And to a large extent, it has been. You guys have friends from other schools that you met through fencing. I'm assuming, I don't know for a fact, but I would assume so, judging by the fact that you're talking to other people at meets. And that's a good thing. That's one of the things I thought we should do.
It's nice not to see phones at meets.
Mm-hmm.
You guys you spend the entire day in the gym, and you're interacting with each other from all the different schools and everywhere, and it should be relaxing and enjoyable to you guys, is it?
I'd say so.
Yeah. Different environment. It's just kind of nice just to chill out and chat with people. So you've been successful.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And here's one more perspective. One of the things I liked about fencing, and still do, although it's since I don't compete much anymore, it's not as much of a thing. I studied history in high school and college, and it's sword fighting.
Yeah.
What shaped human history for years and years and years and years and years were edged weapons. Sword fighting skills, fencing skills, which is what fencing was practice for sword fighting. What do we have in common with Sir Richard Burton, the explorer, not the actor, the one who snuck into Mecca disguised as a pilgrim? We're all fencers. So was he. It really ties you in to the past, and since gunfighting is illegal in most places, you can still go fence and have that tie to history and to other people. And also what Jack said, it's a individual sport. You don't have to worry about letting down your teammates. You drop the pass or you throw it somewhere else. It's just you and nobody else. And there's also the adrenaline rush when you step off strip and your heart's beating and your hands are shaking, and that can become quite addictive after a while.
And to show you how addictive, once the wire mesh mask was invented, in less than a decade, the sport had spread all across Europe. Bam, there it was. That shows you how popular it was from the very get-go. You can play with swords and not die. So it's kind of cool.
The penalty for missing a parry when you didn't have a mask was pretty severe.
That's why we were telling you that there is right away in épée. Real. It's a great sport. We love it. We've been doing it forever.